But at this time, we wanted you to have a copy of the obituary and kind of what we're going to do here tonight. And we want to remember someone that's not here, and that's very important to us. Let's read the obituary. Gary Donald Hale, a proud veteran of the Army, the same military branch as his father, Rayburn Arvis Hale, Sr., passed away May 28, 2015 at age 67. He was a resident of Edgewater, Florida. Gary was born in 1948, Bonham, Texas, to Rayburn and Leva Hale. Gary served in Vietnam in the 128th Medical Detachment. He was a 1967 graduate of Bonham High School, where he excelled in 4-H, winning grand champion of the Texas State Fair for his South. He attended and held an associate degree in applied science, registered nurse, from Grayson County College in 1974. Gary's pride and joy was his family. He was a loving son, a father, a brother, an uncle, and grandpa. I can testify to most of that. He was proud of his son, Hayden Hale, and his many accomplishments in the field of optical and laser engineering. He was the type of father and grandpa who was always available to help with fixing things or providing advice. He was very dedicated to his grandchildren. Gary was extremely close to his older brother, Rayburn Hale. They were referred to by their mother as the Gold Dust Twins. Got into a lot of different things themselves together. Gary was extremely close to his older brother, Rayburn Hale. They were inseparable, growing up with only 15 months difference in their age. Their relationship continued to be strong throughout their adult years. He was an avid gardener and enjoyed cooking, riding motorcycles, swimming, sailing, hunting, and fishing with his siblings. Gary was a joy to be around, always an amazing host. I can testify to that too. Gary had a career that spanned almost 40 years as a registered nurse, working in hospitals and VA medical facilities. His areas of expertise included the emergency room and the cardiac catheterization lab. Gary was survived by his wife, Mary Lou Hale, deceased now, sons Hayden Hale and Jimmy Allen, he's also deceased, daughters Nora Davenport and her husband Mike and Patty, and grandsons Josh, Jimmy Allen, Matt Allen, granddaughters Cindy, Shauna, Miranda, Stephanie, Tasha, Tiffany, and Cassidy, brother Rayburn Arvis Hale Jr., deceased now, 3 sisters, Diana Ridge and her husband Me, and Kim Wisner and Doug, and Kathy Vaughn and Steve Vaughn, and numerous great-grandchildren, nieces and nephews. He was preceded in death by his parents, Rayburn Hale Sr. and Leela. A private service celebrating Gary's life will be held by his family in lieu of flowers. Donations may be made to plant a tree in his memory. Both Gary and his father are honored for their service in the Red River Valley Veterans Memorial Museum in Paris, Texas. His life was marked by love, the joy for his children, grandchildren, siblings, and extended family. We rejoice knowing he is experiencing peace and joy. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds through Christ Jesus. Philippians chapter 4, verse 7. It's now time for me to tell some tales. And this, of course, is referred to on your program as memories. It's not your memories particularly, but it's mine and my wife. Gary was always, whenever he was growing up, just standing there and things went wrong. His mother would have him bathed and cleaned up to go to church, and somehow she'd look at him just before they went out the door and, oh my gosh, what have you got into now? And he was able to escape a lot of times with dirt on him whenever it didn't belong there. And I'll tell you about a time that this happened. In 1965, what was known then as the Texas Highway Department, this fellow here works for that same bunch of guys. They got it into their heads that they would redo all of the farm to market roads in southwestern Lamar County. And it just so happened that in 1964, on December the 4th, I had gone to work for that same group of people and was living in Roxton, Texas, and the rock pit that they were getting rock out of was out north of town, about 2 miles. And Mr. Hale happened to be working for R.W. McKinney construction company at the time, and he was in charge of the demolition of the rock, in other words, blowing it up. And he was about to put off a shot, as they call it, and he asked me if I wanted to go out there, and Gary was already out there working with him to help him wire up everything. Had 100 holes of dynamite on the bottom and with caps, ammonium nitrate to almost the top of the ground, and then dynamite and caps on top. And he said he had a 100-foot leader cord coming off the back of the shot. He says it's safe here for us to be real close to it whenever we shoot. Okay, sounded good to me. And so we drove an old Euclid dump truck down into the rock pit, and I was sitting under the driver's seat, not that I had been driving or anything. And Gary was in the middle. Mr. Hale went out to get the wire and that little box with the plunger in it that set the shot off. And he started to get back into the truck, and he handed that little box to Gary and says, "Don't touch it." Before he got his right leg in the door, there was the awfulest shot went off you ever saw in your life. Dust came in, concussion blew the door shut on Mr. Hale's leg, and there's some words we can't even begin to think about now that were said and screamed about that time. But Gary says, "I didn't do anything." I don't know how this happened, but that's the way it was. I could testify to him always being around that. Later on in 1966, I purchased what I thought was a 1963 Carmen Ghia convertible. It turned out to be a 1961 model after we wrecked it, but that's kind of getting ahead of the story. I'd been sliding around corners and having a fun fest in that thing. Wouldn't run very fast, but it would turn corners quick. And so we had gone out east of Roxton and started back into town. And we came to a road intersection, and I said, "Well, I'm going to gear this thing down. I want to show you something. I don't guess you could ever turn this thing over." And I pulled it down in second gear and cut it to the right real hard, and the back end went around, and we rolled it over in the ditch. And I fell out and got my head all cut up, broke my glasses and everything. And the first thing out of Gary's mouth was, "Hey, it'll still crank and run," and he hit the starter and started it back up. But the joke was on him because he had slid across from the passenger seat into the driver's seat, and the emergency brake had caught his pants and tore about that much out of the seat of his pants. And he felt a little bit of wind blowing whenever he got out of the car. And he says, "My mama's going to kill me." It's the new pair of pants. I said, "Well, que sera, sera." but we need to find somebody to stitch me up, and so I had to go to the hospital and all that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun back in those days. Not really, but it's funny now. One of the things that Gary was proud of was being the baby. And he was a baby until Kim came along, and that kind of upset his wagon a little bit. So his father had taken him with him one day and took him to the International House in Bonham, and they had these little tractors as pedal toys. And he wanted one of those real bad, so his daddy bought him one. Well, my daddy never would buy me anything like that. We was poor as dirt, and we didn't get to have too many pedal toys, and I always wanted one of them, so I kind of felt a little bit of his anguish, or rather Junior's and Diana's anguish about the situation, because he got that and they didn't get anything. And so he was spoiled. He was taken care of because he was a baby, but his mother had to assure him when Kim came along that he would always be her baby boy. One of the times that happened in, I guess is in the late 80s or 90s, I can't really remember exactly when, but we had moved to Bogota, and in 87 we moved over to the north side of Bogota, and there was a great big church building that we bought and lived in. It was a nice place, and his own sand, and had a good spot for a garden in the backyard. And I had tilled up a place and had a little fence put up and some tomatoes planted to grow on that fence in the garden. It wasn't very much of a garden, about as long as this room is and about a half that wide. And anyway, Gary was going to stop by and visit with us on one of his trips across the nation. And we were at work, and whenever he arrived earlier than expected, and he went prowling around the house and looked in the backyard, and there's this garden. So he goes to Walmart, loads himself up on plants and seeds, and comes back and finishes planting my garden for me. And that I really enjoyed it. We had a beautiful garden that year. Another thing that I remember, and this is the last thing that I'll tell you about, is him being a host. We mentioned that in the obituary, and it's a fact. We went out to Edgewater in 2008, and whenever we arrived, it was late in the afternoon, and he cooked supper for us. And one of the things that he had fixed was a pineapple upside down cake. And I can tell you it was very good. We enjoyed it. It was really awful nice. And after dinner, we sat down in the living area, and I noticed that there's nothing on the coffee table, and there's a great big cage out in the middle of the floor out there. I said, "Oh my, what's this?" I figured he had a pet lion or something. You never know. Anyway, in a little while, I had been friends with the little Shih Tzu dog that they had, and was having a big time. He brought in this big black lab named Blackjack. And he opened the back door and let him in. The first thing he did was hit the kitchen cabinets and ate a loaf of bread, package and all. Whole thing. In about 2 snaps, it was gone. I mean, he was something else. Well, he came in to the room where we were, and his tail was like a baseball bat with fur on it. He was hitting everything under the sun. I could see why there wasn't anything sitting on any of the tables around there. I grabbed my drink and got back, and he came over to me, stuck his nose up there like he wanted to be petted, and I reached out and he bit me. I hated that dog immediately. I'm telling you.
He loved that dog.
Yeah. Well, I went to bed that night, and being an old man, even back then, I was old. I'm 83 now, so you can imagine, backtrack to 2008. Having a little prostate trouble, want to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom. And the way the house was laid out, we was on what I think was the northwest side of the house in the bedroom. And you had to go out of this room and through the corner of the living area, and the bathroom was around there, and he hadn't cut a door through to the bedroom yet. So I reached for the doorknob in the middle of the night. You never heard such a row as Blackjack roared. I shut the door real easy and went back to bed. I found out what it was like to live in misery and enjoy it until we made it till morning. That was some of the things that happened, and I kind of like to end on a happy note. There's one thing that happened to him that my wife was involved in one time whenever they were little, that he was very much allergic to poison ivy. He didn't know it at the time, and the kids wanted to find out, Junior and Di, they wanted to find out if he really was, so they went out, found some leaves, and they didn't know what they were, but they rubbed them on him pretty good. That took a trip to see the doctor and a trip to the hospital, everything, so that he could get well. They tried to kill him is what they tried to do. I think it's kind of like the man that planted the vineyard and the others in the vineyard wanted to kill the heir. But anyway, we enjoyed it and telling these tales, and we enjoyed our time that we had with him. And that's the thing that we want to talk about right now. Helen is going to say a few words to you, I think, about a song that she'd like to play. And it has a special meaning, and I'm going to let her talk, and then she'll play this song, and then we'll go on to other events of the evening.
They put me in charge of music. I don't know why I always get in charge of music, but they put me in charge of music, and I think they thought they were going to trick me into singing again. And so I thought about it, and I thought about it, what I wanted to sing, or what Amanda and I would sing together. And there's a song that I hear on the radio some, and it hits me every time. And I just felt like it is a song that really is this occasion. Whether you're thinking about Gary or Gina, just lost her dad, or there's so many others. Dusty lost his dad. There's so many others in this room who have lost somebody that means somebody to them. And so this song was written by someone who lost their dad, and it was a really strange event. It hit him pretty hard. And instead of writing a song about that event, he wrote a song to try to help others heal. So that's what we're going to play right now. And I believe the words to the song are on your program if you just want to look over them, but I don't know if I can listen to it and keep it together. So anyway.
It's perfect outside, it's like God let me dial up the weather. Got the whole crew here, I ain't seen some of them in forever. It's one of those never forget it, better stop and take it in kind of scenes. Everything's just right, yeah, except for one thing. You should be here, standing with your arm around me here, cutting up, cracking a cold beer, saying cheers. Hey y'all, it's sure been a good year. It's one of those moments that's got you